I will start today's video with a famous quote by Warren Buffett. You only have to do very few things right in your life, so long as you don't do too many things wrong. How does it apply to stocks to buy and stock market investing? Let me explain. The difficulty in applying this rule to investing is that it requires you to say no. You have to say no to many good things. Application of this rule in real life looks like that. Warren Buffett suggests writing down your top 25 priorities. Then divide that list into the top 5 and bottom 20. Most people presume you work mostly on the top 5 and occasionally on the bottom 20. On the contrary, Warren Buffett instructs working on the top 5 and avoiding the bottom 20 at all costs. Otherwise, these less important things will eat your time and resources, which you should spend on the top 5. It's a matter of priorities. If you don't know yours and how to act on them, you'll end up mediocre. To summarize, you have to say no to a lot of good things to have a great life. I apply this rule to my life, but I also use it to my investing. And that affected my decision to not invest in pharma stocks. It is not what interests me and where I can model the future earnings of a company. Can you say which company is going to develop a successful vaccine, if any? You can assign probabilities to a pharma company having a vaccine, but for me, there are too many things I do not know. And I'm happy to pass next to such opportunities. That is why, for these companies, their financial results are a big question mark. It is a different story for the majority of companies in my portfolio. I can estimate future earnings of any of these companies and decide if there is a growth story in the future for these companies. Similarly, I do not try to jump into some speculative stocks from other sectors or fallen dividend angels like airplane stocks because they seem to be cheap now. For me, technology is the sector I feel comfortable to have a lot of money invested in, and I can't find long-term winners there. So you are probably wondering what my stocks to buy now choices for August 2020 are. Watch this video to find out what are my stocks to buy for August 2020 and what other companies I have on my radar. And if you like this 5-25 strategy, smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm. It will help to promote this video on the YouTube platform. So July 2020 is gone. Let's see how the overall market and my stocks to buy choices for July 2020 have been doing. The S&P 500 index went up by 5.51%. I am sure you are interested to know how my choices for the last month performed. Let's check it. Yes, my choices outperformed the result of the S&P 500 index again. Let's start with my American companies. Alphabet went up by 4.93%. Facebook increased its share price by 11.71%, and Apple jumped up by 16.51%. Excellent returns from these technology giants. All these companies have beaten Wall Street expectations about their earnings in second quarter of 2020. And then let's look at my exposure to video game developers. CD Projekt RED went up by 1.8%. 11-bit Studios increased its market capitalization by 2.99%. 10 Square Games went up by 5.77%. and CreepyJar went down by 3.15%. The average return from these four companies is more than their respective benchmark, which is the index of the Polish stock market. Index WIG went up only by 1.81% during July 2020. The average result achieved by my choices was 5.79% versus 5.51% for the S&P 500 index, which is the benchmark of the US stock market. Here you can see the change of capital if the initial investment was $10,000. My stocks to buy choices delivered 64.7% gains versus the S&P 500 index, which went up by only 9.9% during 10 months of the series. I beat the index by 54.8%, which is
Legend? Wait for it. Dairy. Legendary.
It is definitely more than I expected when I started this series about stocks to buy now. My focus on technology stocks seems to be paying off. My area of expertise allows me to beat stock market indices and multiply my capital quickly. The result achieved by Apple is impressive, but it was not my best performer this month in my real portfolio. My best performer in July 2020 among 15 companies in my real portfolio was Tesla stock. Tesla stock went up by 32.5%, almost double the return achieved by Apple stock. My real portfolio gained 11.39% during July 2020 and 46.8% in this year so far. If you'd like to know exactly what stocks I own in my real portfolio of over $350,000, join my exclusive investing community through patreon.com. You will get exclusive access to members-only content, and also you will be notified straight away when I buy or sell any stock. Last week, tech giants Apple, Alphabet and Facebook reported very strong quarterly financial results. Even though the pandemic shattered many of its stores, Apple increased sales of all its products in every part of the world and posted $11.25 billion in profit. Apple's revenue jumped 11% year over year to $59.7 billion. The technology giant's profit growth was even more impressive. Its earnings per share climbed 18% to $2.58. Wall Street had expected revenue and EPS of only $52.6 billion and $2.07. Apple experienced robust growth across its iPhone, Mac, iPad, wearables and services businesses. Shares were up more than 10% the next trading session after the results had been published. The work from home trend has boosted Mac and iPad. So it all looks very solid, but I will tell you more about my plans for Apple stock later. Okay, now Facebook. Do you remember when I told you that the boycott of Facebook by big companies is not so important? I pointed out that almost 76% of Facebook's advertising revenue comes from small and medium-sized businesses. It seems that I was right, and I have used the decline in the share price of Facebook to increase my ownership of Facebook. Facebook's earnings jumped 11% year on year. It reported daily active users of nearly 1.8 billion, which is 12% higher than last year. In terms of monthly active users, the number was 2.7 billion, which is another 12% rise. Facebook's revenue for the second quarter rose to $11.7 billion, while profits jumped 98% to $5.2 billion. The results were well above analysts' estimates of $17.3 billion in revenue with a profit of $3.9 billion. Facebook also now officially has more than 3 billion monthly users across its family of apps around the world. It is precisely 3.14 billion at the end of the second quarter. But what about the future? Facebook indicates that double-digit growth in ad revenue can continue in Q3. The company forecasts revenue growth for the third quarter of about 10%, beating analysts' expectations for growth of 7.9%. Advertising revenue dropped for Alphabet, but it still did better than Wall Street had expected. Alphabet's revenue from Google search ads fell 10%, but that still was better than rivals. Last week, Microsoft reported an 18% slide in search advertising revenue. The decline came mostly from lower sales of advertisements that ran alongside Google's search results. The company's efforts to diversify its business paid off as revenue from YouTube ads and its cloud computing business grew. The internet giant reported nearly $38.3 billion in revenue for the second quarter, down 2% from the year prior. Still, revenue was higher than the $37.4 billion Wall Street analysts had expected. Cloud was a very bright spot for Google. It includes infrastructure products as well as its G Suite of productivity tools. Google Cloud revenue grew 43% in the second quarter. Google's other revenues, which covers things like hardware and Google Play purchases, were $5.12 billion for the quarter, which was up 25.6% year over year. It comes mainly from in-app revenues as people stayed at home because of the pandemic. Overall, you can see clearly from this earnings season that the transformation to the digital economy benefits all these companies. Polish stock market is one of the cheapest stock markets. It does not imply that you cannot make money while investing in Polish companies. It is quite the opposite. I consider Poland to be the technology leader in Eastern Europe, and I'm not the only one to discover this potential. Tech giants Google and Microsoft will be investing a combined $3 billion in Poland in the coming years. The country will become a digital hub for Central and Eastern Europe. Here you can see my returns in my European Silicon Valley portfolio, which consists of technology stocks from Poland. So after this quick introduction, let's see what are my Polish technology choices for stocks to buy now, August 2020. I have been talking a lot about CD Projekt company in previous videos. CD Projekt is to release their Cyberpunk 2077 game on 19th November 2020. CD Projekt RED is Poland's most valuable company and Europe's undisputed juggernaut in gaming, with the market capitalization higher than Ubisoft. Recently, CD Projekt RED announced that they would buy back their own shares. It is positive news. CD Projekt RED wants to spend 250 million zlotys on the stock buyback. I expect another great quarter of sales from the Ten Square Games company. The increased marketing expenditures during the lockdown will have the effect of increased sales in the following months. I am also happy to hold this company in my stocks to buy series. 11-bit Studios announced the date of the release of Frostpunk's expansion. On the Edge will debut on 20th August 2020. The company will share its financial results for the first half of the year on 27th August 2020. The company has received a lot of interest from abroad after the game This War of Mine has been added to the recommended reading list for high school students in Poland. Creepy Jar is the 5th biggest game studio on Warsaw Stock Exchange. The Green Hell maker is one of the largest video game development companies on the Warsaw Stock Exchange, only behind CD Projekt, 11-bit Studios, Ten Square Games and Playway. The Green Hell game reached over 1 million copies already. I think we can expect news about selling another 500,000 during autumn this year. The growth drivers for the Creepy Jar stock price are strong second quarter financial results expected. The company will also release Green Hell for Nintendo Switch, VR, PS4 and Xbox One. Currently, PC is the only platform on which Green Hell is selling. Creepy Jar is also working on the new production, Chimera, which is expected to be better and bigger than Green Hell production. Apart from the surprising quarterly results, Apple also announced a 4-for-1 stock split to make the stock more accessible to a broader base of investors. Apple's stock split does not affect my view of the company. It does not change the valuation of Apple. Currently, Apple is an expensive stock, reaching almost $2 billion market capitalization. I decided to not include Apple as one of the stocks to buy now. Apple stock needs some break from growth. I think I can find better opportunities now. I still think that Facebook and Alphabet are just warming up. These are my choices for stocks to buy now in August 2020. More companies move online, and these are the primary beneficiaries of online advertising. I can see massive growth in front of these businesses. Apart from Alphabet and Facebook, I selected 4 gaming companies as stocks to buy for August 2020. I expect very good financial results this month and successful releases of the new games soon. These companies benefit both from lockdown as well as the recession. First, people stay more indoors now and have more time to play video games. Secondly, video games are the cheapest entertainment. You can buy a game for $50 and play hundreds of hours. You have to admit that it is much less expensive than going to the cinema or a concert. You are awesome that you watched this video till the end. Before I show you my observation list of stocks, I have an announcement for you. My real stock portfolio returns for the last 2 years are shown next to me. I have been beating the stock indices regularly. You might be interested in joining my exclusive investing community. You will get exclusive access to members-only content. You will learn via our Facebook private group, take part in our regular members-only live Q&A webinars, and get access to a library of past webinars. You will know all companies from my real portfolio of more than $350,000, and also you will be notified straight away when I buy or sell any stock. This week, I have added shares of a company which will benefit from the increased volatility on the stock market. And with the coming US presidential election, ongoing trade war, and investors tracking the development of the pandemic, the increased volatility is almost guaranteed. Thanks to my approach, you can spend a minimal amount of time on investing, and your future self will thank you for this investment. Visit patreon.com/stocks-and-freedom or click the link in the video description. Now let's talk about what companies I have on my radar. I'm looking at Asia in search of growth stocks. One such company is Tencent. It's a mixture of Facebook, PayPal, and Netflix, but it also includes bits of Alphabet and Activision Blizzard. Tencent has also aggressively invested in next-gen technologies like artificial intelligence and driverless cars. Tencent owns stakes in companies like Tesla Motors and Snap. In terms of e-commerce platforms, I'm looking beyond Alibaba. I am looking closer at JD.com and C Limited companies. Among American companies, Square and Tesla are on my observation list. Square is a company similar to PayPal, but Square is better for brick-and-mortar businesses who need a robust point-of-sale system. At the same time, PayPal is preferable for solely online-based companies. I own Tesla stock with around 250% gains. I bought these shares during a correction in March this year when its stock price dropped below $400. I would love to add more shares at the lower level. I shared with you my choices for stocks to buy now in August 2020 and stocks which I observe carefully. But remember not to listen to bloggers and vloggers. Always do your research and have conviction why you buy shares of the specific company. Let me know in the comment section below what stocks you are buying in August 2020 and what companies do you have on your observation list. I respond to every comment. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe and click the bell to receive a notification about a new video being published. Or feel free to add me on Instagram, Stocks and Freedom, where I post my comments almost daily. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, happy investing!